All right. Hey everyone, Mark here. Thanks for joining me for another weekly Bitcoin stock market and gold price action analysis. The goal of this session is to get a sense of what the charts are saying to gather clues and to help us manage risk for the coming week, okay, and see what kind of scenarios the market is showing us. All right, so with that being said, I'm simulcasting today. Here, let me adjust my microphone here. Just give me a second. All right, let me know if there are any sound problems, but there shouldn't be, okay? And let's get this thing started. So this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Okay, and here's my chart. Let me get in there so you guys can see me too. All right, cool. So first thing I want to do, all right, cool, there we go. Hey everyone, cool, good to see everyone. Hey, I got Schwartz from Romania. My Romanian friends, they're watching me. I love Romania. Romania is like my favorite place now. All right, cool. Hello, Zal and Go and Jesse. Good to see you all. Alex, thanks for joining. All right, cool. I'm simulcasting on TradingView as well. So if you're new to the chat, just make sure that you put your symbol or the market that you'd like to know more about. You can put that in the chat now. If it's an altcoin, just put USD after it so I know and I don't look at the wrong chart for 3 hours. And all right, so now, first things first. Yesterday was a holiday. So usually I stream on Mondays. I simulcast on Mondays. But because the stock market was closed, I figured, you know what, it'd be better if I do it on Tuesday because we have charts that have made some moves and can give us some better ideas as to what we can anticipate for the coming week. All right, so let's talk about the economic calendar first because it's just an important thing. Now, if you're on TradingView, you should check out the TradingView economic calendar. I just use a different one just because, you know, it's just a personal thing. This really doesn't matter that much. Okay, it's also nice to have the timestamps, which, let me see, yeah, they took them away on mine. Anyway, all right, doesn't matter. Let's see what we have very quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. So we have, let's see, this is all today. Royal National Bank of Australia interest rate decision. All this came out, I believe, earlier. So, and then the Governor Lowe speech. Okay, fine, that's fine. Whatever. Those aren't big market moving numbers right there. Then we have Europe retail sales at 5 a.m. and then 10 a.m. was ISM Services PMI. This was all earlier today. Okay, for the U.S. And then there was FOMC. No, actually tomorrow, which is Wednesday, we have the FOMC minutes. That's usually at 2 p.m. Eastern time. The minutes, if there are any surprises in there, you could get a market move. But usually, pretty much, you know, the Fed they know what went on in the minutes. If there was anything unusual, usually that would be out. But sometimes there's a surprise. Anyway, that's more important if you're a day trader. Really not important if you're a swing trader. Also on the 7th, we have the Governor Lowe from Bank of Australia. Again, another speech. I wouldn't really worry too much about that. On the 8th, we have China Consumer Price Index. On the 9th, we have ECB President Lagarde's speech. Also, we have the Canadian unemployment rate, and we have net change in employment for Canada. Again, these are not big numbers. I don't see any FOMC meetings. I don't see any rate decisions from the U.S. That's usually the big market mover because interest rates are the key thing here. Okay, I think I got everything. This is the whole week? Yeah, okay. So that's pretty much, so what that tells me is there's not much going on the economic calendar. All right, so not a whole lot of scheduled news to worry about. That's a good thing. But keep something in mind. We're in a holiday environment. Yes, the holiday was yesterday and Sunday and all that stuff. But the way with markets is volume dries up. Okay, volume started to shrink going into the holiday, right? We had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, volume shrinking, and now the holiday was yesterday. And you think, oh yeah, everyone's going to come back to work, and we're going to have back to normal. No, not back to normal. It's not the way it works. The typical pattern that I've seen year after year is summertime volume usually shrinks, going into August, shrinks, and you can see some days that are really just really uneventful, not worth looking at, especially for swing trades. We've been seeing a lot of that now. This type of environment is typically better for a day trader because you grab some opportunities if you can, you're done, and you're not exposed to the broader magnitude of risk. So volume typically picks up. I'm talking on an average level, like an average amount, usually around October, just to give you an idea. So you're going to see a lot of strange behaviors, a lot of unusual things that will really not make a whole lot of sense, but you can't measure these things with logic to begin with. So I'm going to point out a couple of those things in my analysis here shortly. So let's take a look at a few things. Let's first begin here with Bitcoin. And I'm going to get to your questions, so thank you for asking. I see quite a few questions in the channel here. Over here on TradingView, again, you can put your questions. Oh, it's funny. I love this. So people put their country right away, and that's great. I mean, that's a fun thing you guys can do. If you want to put what country you're from or what city you're from, I always love to see, especially when I have TradingView on here, I always love to see all the different parts of the world that are actually seeing me right now. Okay, anyway, and I'm broadcasting from the greater New York City area. I have a few New Yorkers here. I've complained a few times about not having any, but I got Jesse, I had a couple other people, I even had some Jersey guys here. So that's really exciting for me. All right, anyway, so let's talk about Bitcoin first. All right, now here's the thing. Bitcoin has been in a tight consolidation. This isn't very surprising. Talked about this for a long time. Nothing has really changed. A swing trade idea was sent out on Friday based on this little pin bar action right here. I'm going to point it out, this thing right here, and has not gone very far. Here's the thing. We're in the middle of this range, basically. This is the middle of the range between 35K and 38K. That's what you're dealing with. Now, the middle of the range is a very highly random area. It's not a really good place to be putting on new trades. So the trades that we send out, they're highly aggressive. The thing is, the structure that's in play right now, and this is what you need to respect, is this lower high at 41K. Now you're going to have a lot of bears, and they're going to come out and they're going to say 20K, 20K this, 20K that. Yeah, you're going to have those guys because they're focused on their small or whatever, and they're going to say the trend is bearish. But that's not the case yet because the bigger picture hasn't changed. This bigger picture, when I zoom out, bigger picture is bullish. What is bearish right now is the recent structure. That's not the same as the bigger picture trend. So don't be confused. We have the lower high in place, which favors a lower low, but just because the structure favors that doesn't mean we're going to get it, okay? That's an important distinction. I wrote about that in my TradingView analysis as well that I published the other day. You should check it out. If you haven't read it, you should read it, because I always make some important points in those about order flow and about expectations. So as long as 30K holds, we have to go with the idea that it will continue to hold until it proves otherwise. So at this moment, 30K is the support, 30 between 30 and 28K is the support, and the resistance is still 40 to 41. 35 doesn't really mean anything because it's in the middle. It can get taken out, it can pull back through, it doesn't mean anything. So it's highly random. I wouldn't consider that a major level. The market needs to choose. Bitcoin needs to choose. Now, there's going to be all kinds of opinions out there and all kinds of, I see someone in the chat here mention something about the Wyckoff distribution and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. You know, you're always going to get these guys that look for some kind of gimmick so that they can push on people and say, see, look, this is the special thing that's going to tell you how the market's going to go. There is no special thing. I mean, look, the Wyckoff method has value if you use it correctly, but you don't have to make this very complicated, right? And that's a very important part of decision making. You need to be able to make decisions on the most incomplete information possible. Here, let me just move over here a little bit. So, and let me adjust my mic. Hold on. So I still sound like that I'm close. Okay, I'll put that there like that. Okay. So again, you need to be able to make decisions in the face of incomplete information. Very similar to a poker player. That is the swing trade mentality. Also day trade mentality. It's just a different magnitude. When it comes to investing, the game is a little different, okay? So I'm not going to get into all those details, but the point is this. When it comes to something like Bitcoin, the market needs to provide some new information here, and we don't have that. So going by people's opinions or, oh, this method says this, or that says that, and blah, 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 blah. It's all meaningless. The market needs to choose. So at this point, the structure says it favors a 30K break, but we don't have a 30K break. So until we do, we can't assume that that's what's going to occur. Now, when it comes to measuring risk, if you want to short something like this, that's something that is between you and your risk tolerance. We don't short Bitcoin, just to make that clear. We don't use leverage for these markets, and there's good reason for that. But there is a sell signal in play. The risk that you face is you're shorting into a potential bottom, right? A short-term bottom, which again hasn't proven itself yet. But if the bigger picture trend asserts itself, you're going to see 40K quickly. So you have to decide how much risk you're going to take, what kind of position size you're looking at, and if it's worthwhile to you. Okay. Again, so the short side of the market is not even an issue for us. We don't even consider it. We're only looking for longs, and we've done fine just doing that. So we wait for buy signals. Sometimes they get stopped out, and sometimes they work out well. As long as we win more than what we lose, we come out ahead over time. It's that simple. So right now, there's really not much to do in Bitcoin. If you're in we've had a couple of recent trades. In the month of July, we only had 3 trade signals. If you're in any of those, I think one of them may have even stopped out, you just let the market choose. Let the market decide, right? That's why you put a stop in place. If you're not willing to take risk, or if you're like, I don't like where that stop is, I can't lose that money, you shouldn't be in the trade, whether the trade works out or not. This game is about risk. It's always about risk first, nothing else. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Now, altcoins are going to follow this. Now, I see a question here, and I want to address this real quick before I get into all the other questions, because it's really involved. It really involves this Bitcoin situation. AXSUSD. Is there a possible explanation for this all-time high while Bitcoin isn't at 50% of its all-time high? So this person here was shorting it, and he ran into a problem. Now, so I talk about the altcoins a lot, and I talk about pretty much they follow Bitcoin, right? Now, you're going to get these unusual situations. Let's take a look at this. So, any explanation, he asks? Well, here's the thing. There is no technical explanation for this except for the fact that it took out resistance levels and is going vertical. Usually, there's hype involved in these situations. Usually, there's a chat room somewhere or some kind of online community that's pushing some kind of hype. And the other thing you have to look at with these is what is the circulation of coins. If this is like a low circulation type of instrument, meaning there are not a lot of coins available, then situations like this can happen on their own. Okay. Now, not all altcoins follow Bitcoin 100%. Most of them do, but you'll have these unusual situations, and these are often a result, from what I've seen, a result of some kind of hype coming from somewhere. And there's not much you can do about that. Also, when it comes to the charts, if you were shorting something like this at 5, where is 5? 5 is this lower high area right here. Here, I'm going to point out 5, okay, this area right here. If you're shorting from that, your risk needs to be defined from there. If price closes above there, like this candle right here, it closes decisively above. It wasn't like it went above and then gave you a pin bar. It closed strongly above. Usually that's where you should be getting out, or you should have your stop in place so that you don't have to make the decision. You get stopped out, you take your loss, and you avoid getting caught in this situation. Okay, so this goes same for the long side. I can't tell you how many times stops have saved us a ton of money. I mean, one of the more recent trades was gold. Took a long at $18.99. We took a 30-point stop. The next day, pulled back 30 points, knocked us out. The thing went over 100 points lower over the next week or two. So I'd rather lose 30 points than being stuck in a position where it can go hundreds of points against me. All right. So anyway, but there is really no explanation. Don't beat yourself up trying to find explanations. The thing is, it broke resistances and it squeezed. Okay. Maybe there are many other shorts as well. Again, most likely an example of hype. So thank you for bringing that one up. I just wanted to mention that real quick because that's a really important distinction when it comes to using Bitcoin as your guide. This thing is not following Bitcoin anymore. for whatever reason. And these are unusual situations. They're like lottery tickets, okay? Most altcoins do not act on their own like this. Anyway, so thank you again for bringing that up. All right, so let's take a look at the stock market real quick. And I see some of you have some questions about the stock market. And I saw one question about, should we short the stock market now? And there was also a question here about the comp, right? I see a question, comp USD, it's being a good follower. Is comp, let me see, is that the same as the NASDAQ? Let me see. Comp USD, what is that? No, that does not look like the NASDAQ. Comp USD, okay, that's a coin. All right, so I thought, comp at one time used to be a symbol for the NASDAQ. So here's the NASDAQ 100. Now keep in mind, the NASDAQ 100 is 100 stocks compared to like the S&P, which is 500 stocks, right? The Dow is only 30 stocks. Now, these are heavily weighted by the FANG stocks, all right? Facebook, Apple, Amazon, you know that crew. And, earlier today, Amazon was up 100 points. Let me see where Amazon is now. Yeah, look at this. This is ridiculous, right? Broke out for whatever reason. I don't care why. Probably some news or whatever. I mean, okay, whatever. The point is, that's going to create some conflict, right? NASDAQ, all-time highs. Where's this thing right now? 14,778. It's up 77 points. And then you look at the S&P, and the S&P, which actually was minus 20 earlier today, it's at 4340. It's still negative 9 points, while the NASDAQ is basically almost up 100 points. That's conflict. So what do you do in that situation? Well, and the question about is now the time to short the NASDAQ, it's still early. So look at the S&P. So the S&P gave us a sell signal, and now it's turning into what looks like a bullish pin bar near an all-time high. You have to look at it this way. All these markets, NASDAQ, S&P, Dow, whatever, they should all be generally following each other. And when they start to break apart like that, meaning like the NASDAQ is doing something ridiculous in contrast to the S&P, that's usually a red flag. Now, I don't sit there and drive myself crazy trying to figure out why. I just recognize that there is something unusual going on. That's also typical of a low volume environment. So what to do here? Is it time to short? I think it's too early. I mean, I have a position on in the SQQQ, which is not doing very well at all. I put that short on, back in March, was it? Or April, back here. And it tried to do its job, and forget it. Okay, I haven't gotten out of that position because I still have a lot of time. It's an options position. So I believe that we can break even on that position. That's why I'm giving it a chance. All right, again, it's an options position. If the market just wants to keep going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher forever, well, my options will just go to zero and that's it, right? It's not like I'm stuck in some kind of unlimited risk short position. But the thing is, this is too early. You have, was a sell signal, now it's a buy signal. You have an outside bar. So there's nothing to do here. These are all-time highs. Does it make sense? Well, it doesn't matter. There's no room for logic in this game. You just have to accept it, right? The thing with shorting the NASDAQ or the S&P, before you can even begin shorting it, really what it should do is, for one, give a sell signal. There's nothing. This is not a sell signal. So there's nothing there. Also, it needs to break supports. No supports are broken, not even these minor ones. Look at this. High or low over here. What is this? 481, okay? High or low. Not even challenged, not even tested, nothing. We have a higher low today that was put in at, what is that, 635. So not even the mini higher lows or the smaller time frame supports are being compromised or even touched. So it's too early, okay? If you're super aggressive and you just want to try to take a trade, stepping in front of it because you say to yourself, well, how much higher can it go? Well, you could have been saying that 400 points ago, and it just keeps going higher and higher and higher. So that's only something that you can decide. But in terms of the chart and as far as what's coming for the week ahead, there's nothing here that says selling activity is entering the market at this point. Maybe it'll change tonight. Maybe it'll change tomorrow. But at this moment, there's nothing there. It just wants to go higher, which is good for long stocks, generally long stocks. I mean, you saw Amazon, probably one of the main drivers of this. I mean, take a look at Apple, right? Look at Apple on its highs. So, I mean, this is what you're fighting against. NVDA, look at this one, okay, on its highs. So this is part of also, we're in a stimulus market right now where no matter what, I mean, the market finds buying activity and it's inflation, whatever you want to call it. Just the main thing is you can't fight it. So just let it do its thing. If you're long stocks, you try to ride this as much as you can, right? You should be cautious. This is not a good place. And I've been saying this ever since this thing went into this blue rectangle here, which is a reversal zone. The risk of retrace is still very high. Now, I wasn't willing to be buying stocks or take aggressive trades in that zone. I'm certainly not doing it here, okay, at even higher prices. This usually lures in people who think, oh yeah, stock market's safe, that kind of stuff. And there's nothing safe about buying highs. We're not even testing minor supports, like I said. So I think it just needs some more time. Keep in mind, a catalyst can come out of nowhere, and the chart's not going to show that to us until after the fact, right? So that's the only thing we could do is say, look, market's strong. If you're day trading, great. Look for buy signals, take what you can out of the market, and you're not exposed to the broader magnitude risk. If you're swing trading and you've gotten some buy signals here and there and you're taking profits, okay, you should be locking in some profits somewhere at least. Take something off the table in this, because this party can't just keep continuing like this without a pullback. That's not normal. That's not natural. So again, characteristic of a low volume environment. So something to keep in mind there. All right, don't go by people's opinions. Go by the price action. And that's what it says right now, strong. All right, cool. So let's take a look at gold real quick. Let me see how I'm doing with time, because I don't like to spend a whole lot of time on these things. It's 20 minutes in. All right, let's take a look at gold real quick. I just want to spend a couple of minutes on gold. Now, gold, I'm going to point this out because gold was acting very strange earlier today. So gold was pushing this high at, what was it, 1815. Now you're seeing a bearish pin bar, okay, which is more in line with what it should be doing around this level because there's a previous resistance there, right? Now, what's unusual about this? Well, if you take a look at the bond market, these are the 10-year note bond futures. The price of the bonds means lower yields, right? Lower yields. A lower price in the bonds means higher yields. Now the bonds here are breaking out, which means lower yields, which is a dollar bearish type of situation, right? The dollar doesn't like lower yields. The dollar likes higher yields. So if we take a look at the dollar index real quick, the dollar's going higher. Well, what's that all about? Right? The dollar should not be closing strong like this in the face of a lower yield environment, or yields pulling back. So what's up with that? That's weird. That's unusual. So again, you don't fight it. You don't jump to any conclusions. You just say, okay, look, that's a red flag, because that's an unusual behavior. Dollar strong, bonds should be going lower. Bond prices, okay? Dollar strong, gold should be going lower. Gold is going lower, all right? But at one point earlier today, it wasn't. So I saw that, that's weird. Okay, I looked at the dollar, I looked at the bonds, like that's weird. So you have to keep an eye on that relationship. Again, characteristic of a low volume environment. The bonds should not be doing this relative to what those other markets are doing. So when markets start doing strange things like that, it's a lot of times it's best to just stay out of its way and let the market figure it out by stepping in with your own logic. Well, because of this, or oh, I watched TV and they said that, and blah, 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 blah. They're just going to mislead you. Let the market figure it out, and the market will realign at some point. And then things will be clear. When things are unclear, don't fight it. Just let it figure itself out, okay? So I just wanted to point those things out with gold. I mean, there's nothing really to do here. Am I going to short gold? That's a sell signal developing, but I'm not going to short gold, okay? I'd rather be a buyer of gold. So we may get the sell signal at a break of 1790. That would be a short signal or a sell signal, and in theory should make the lower low. But if we are in an inflationary environment, and maybe you could say, oh, well, your opinion is getting in the way. Okay, it might be, but I don't have to take action, right? I don't have to take that short if I don't want to. I don't have to take that chance. I'd rather see things align on the long side, and that's just what I prefer. All right, so that's the story there. All right, so I just wanted to cover those main markets and point out a couple of things. Let me get to your questions now, because that's like the main thing of these streams. I want to answer people's questions and provide some kind of helpful insight. All right, so let me jump over to TradingView first. I got a lot of questions in there. Let me just get through some of these. Hey, I got Moose from Iran. Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining. I got G-Manel from the Bay Area. Hey, thanks for joining. One of my usuals. Thank you for your good stream. Okay, cool. Is the current situation BTC clear? From Iran also. Okay, so I explained Bitcoin earlier. Okay, I got someone from Anesh from Chicago. Hey, welcome. Okay, I got my guy from Lithuania. Costa Rica. That's a new one. I don't get Costa Rica very often. Okay, welcome. Mucho gusto. All right, let's see. Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Ah, Mexico. That's a nice. I've heard about that. I've heard of Playa del Carmen. You must be on vacation. I hear it's a nice place. Never been there though. Okay, welcome. I got Holly from Idaho. Welcome. Okay, glad to catch your stream. Cool. All right, greetings from South Africa. Nice. Welcome. All right, can you look at a stock that's supposed support.com? They've been bullish out of nowhere. Okay, let's take a look. So support.com. We got a stock question. Let's take a look here. All right, so here's support.com. Yeah, it's obviously you have a recent change in structure, right? Because the first change was this break, this lower high. You had you back here at what, $4.10, broke, closed above, and then it gave you a higher low a number of days afterward. You see that? So that's your first sign of change. We've seen this in quite a few stocks. You had another higher low here, and now you have the higher high breakout. So that's all good as far as bigger picture strength. You can't buy this now though, because yeah, you may have the breakout, but you're taking a lot of risk if you buy this. If you buy, you have to hope that you follow through. And this market closes, what, in 30 minutes? And you're getting this bearish type of pin bar. Doesn't mean it's a bearish sign, but if that's the first sign of lack of follow through, right, where do you measure your risk from? Well, you could look at today's low, which is likely to get stopped out because it could easily take that out, or you have to look at the structural low, which is at 381. So right now this thing's at 479. You're risking at least $1. That's a lot for a stock like this. I would wait until a new support level is tested, okay? And you may find that here, this old little minor resistance right here, which is what price? $3.91. So basically around the $4 level. Also, you have that peak back here at $4.14, $4.10. So you have that support right there. That would be a much more attractive place to consider a long, at least for a swing trade, if it can pull back there. Otherwise, you know, if you buy it now, that's part of the risk you're taking. I'd rather wait instead of chasing. That's more my style. I'd prefer to wait for the higher probability level. You don't always get it, but if you don't get it, you know what I like to do? I like to go find something else, because there are plenty of other stocks out there that will fit the criteria that I prefer. So that's that one. Thank you for asking about that one. Okay, let me see what else I got here. Okay, so back in March, it jumped quite a bit. Not sure recent activity. Okay, so yeah, it's just saying that it's strong. All right, Tesla. Let's take a look. Haven't gotten requests for that one in a while. This is interesting. So this thing is minus 21 points today. This is a heavier weight in the S&P, right? They were put into the S&P back in December, was it, or whatever. Now, check this out. So you have this ugly candle today after yesterday or Friday's bearish pin bar. That's not good if you're long. Definitely not good, because especially in face of a strong market, you have a strong S&P. I'm not sorry. You have a strong Nasdaq and all that stuff, and this thing is given this. So stay out of this thing's way. Okay. Sorry about the if you can hear the lawnmower out there. Apologize for that. So as far as Tesla goes, I would wait for the next support level if you're going to do anything with it, if you're not in it. And that would be this level area here. Basically the 600 area, nice whole number. This thing right now is at what? This thing is at 657. So it can pull back. That 600 area, it's a whole number, and that's, you know, a much more attractive place for a long if it could reverse there. Keep in mind, this thing is not exactly trending. All right, so I wouldn't short this thing either. This is a lower high, but you're in a broad consolidation. So look at the support levels, the 600 area, and then this area here, which is what, 570s? Those are your areas of interest. Wait for those areas, right? You're better off. That's Tesla. Again, this one is going to be, there's a lot of hype out on this one. It's going to be very news driven. So you also have to be careful with that as well. So thanks for asking about Tesla. All right, let me see what else I got here. So AXS, I took a look at that one. Hey, I got Jesse from Poughkeepsie, right? My one New York. Oh, so comp. Let's take a look at that comp. You mentioned comp earlier, and I thought it was a NASDAQ composite. It's not. So comp against Tether, right? That's what he's asking for here. Let's see. Yeah, comp against, or just USD. Let me just do that. Comp USD should be the same thing. Yeah, on Coinbase. So what a nice move. Interesting, right? While Bitcoin isn't doing anything. So this looks very similar to that AXS situation. Obviously, that looks hype driven. That looks news driven for it to go vertical like that, while the rest of the space is uneventful. Can't touch this here. Look where you're buying into. If you're buying into this thing now, or if you're thinking about buying into this, you're looking at buying into this resistance area. Okay? So great place to unload if you're in from lower prices. And obviously it came out of nowhere, right? I mean, it just started breaking these resistances and now it looks great. This is going to suck a lot of people in because they think, oh yeah, I got the turn. This thing looks strong now, but the move, half the move is over. This is a place to distribute risk. You're back in the middle of this broader range from this high of what, 915 to this low of 196 or whatever. You're right in the middle. So really bad place to be putting on risk. Highly random area. So wait for a pullback. If you want to get involved in something like this or whatever it is that they're doing, maybe they're hyping, like I said, because this looks very hype-like. Look for an old resistance, which is what, 349, 350 area. That puts you basically like a halfway 50% pullback from where it is right now. Okay, right around that area right there. That gives you a much more attractive area, potential support area, and you can also define your risk if it can provide the reversal structure in such an area. Buying right now, you're buying into this bearish pin bar, not a good time to be buying this thing. Okay, good place to be reducing risk. So thank you for asking about comp USD. All right, so let me see what else I got. Just moving along here. Again, I really appreciate everyone's questions. So I see here, okay, so I mentioned, Alex, you asked about shorting the stock market. I answered that earlier. Also, Alex, CRV USDT. Let's take a look. CRV USDT. All right, so now this one obviously is not as enthusiastic as the others. It's trying to work its way a little higher here, but look where you are. Again, you're in the middle of this structure right here, right? You're in the middle of this. From this low to this high, you're right in the middle of that. So if you're long from lower prices, this is not a bad place to take something off. If you're not long, this is not a good place to be putting on because, again, it's highly random. Midpoints of a range are usually highly random. So I would avoid this thing until it can retest a low of like, what is this, 133 area? That's this bottom right here. If it can give you that opportunity, then you're looking at a potential double bottom relative to this low and a potential triple bottom relative to this low back here. That would give you a much more attractive level. If it can reverse there and give you like a bullish pin bar or something, at least you could measure your risk. Now, this is one of those inexpensive coins, so I equate it more to like a penny stock. I mean, what's your typical move? This thing was at 426, and in what, a matter of a week or week and a half, it went to $1.05. So that's a decent move. But usually these cheaper or inexpensive coins don't move as dramatically as something that's maybe $10 or $50 or $100. So I tend to swing trade, for swing trade purposes, I tend to like those more expensive coins. But it doesn't mean you have to avoid these altogether. You just have to adjust your size appropriately. So thank you for asking about CRV. Okay, okay, cool. Schwartz, my Romanian family over there. I got Julio Fernandez from London. Hey, welcome, Julio. Okay, so let me jump over to the other chat and see what other questions I have here. So I'm just going through the chat. So, hey, I got nice cover of gold. Okay, cool, Kuza, no problem. I got Daruk from Turkey. Hey, welcome, Daruk. Thanks for a good live cheers from Denmark. Oh, Denmark, that's a new one. I don't get very many from Denmark. Thank you, welcome. I got Barry from South Africa. Cool. I got another from Denmark. Today must be Denmark Day or something. I've never gotten anyone from Denmark in here. Okay, Toronto. Hey, cool. Toronto, can you please take a look at GRT USDT? Sure. GRT, what was that again? Oh, someone's, Gmail sent me 100 coins. Hey, Gmail, thank you so much. Gmail sends me coins like every time I do one of these. Thank you very much. It's very generous of you. You don't have to do that, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so GRT USDT, let's take a look. Let's see what's going on here. So GRT against Tether. Now, again, look, so I can see why people are getting some interest in these, right? Recent price action is starting to raise eyebrows. That's a good way to put it. Raise eyebrows. Popping this little green price action here, okay? Starting to do something. Is it looking safer? It's maybe it's implying that idea. But forget these green candles. They don't really mean a whole lot. What you have to look at is the levels behind it, like this area here, right? This whole area. These are old support. This is an old resistance back here. Or actually, I shouldn't say old. It's a current resistance because it's what's in your way. You have this area right there. And then you have these old support levels. These are old supports that were relevant a few months ago, and now they're going to act as resistance, okay? This area up in here. So that's really what you're up against, because I see lower highs, and it's stuck at this low, which is relative to that 30K in Bitcoin, and it's at a potential lower high. So while I wouldn't really qualify this as a strong trend, this is not really a trend, this is more of just a corrective consolidation, you're still near the higher part of it. So not a good place to put on longs, okay? I could tell you that. If you're interested on the long side, then you should consider this support area here, which is going to coincide with the 30K low on Bitcoin. Now, like I said, not all of these follow Bitcoin exactly, but most of the time they do. So what's this pin bar low right here? 42 cents or almost 43 cents. Right now, this thing is at 71 cents. So that's a decent pullback for this magnitude or this price of coin. So if it pulls back there, that's a potential area where you should consider a risk if you're interested. If you're long from a lower price and you're fooling around here in this midpoint of this range, because here's your range. This is your range right here. And you're fooling around in the midpoint. This is a good place to reduce risk. Unload some perhaps if you have some from lower prices. But again, when I talk about these coins, I don't talk about them from the investment perspective. I talk about them more from the short-term oriented swing trade perspective. These coins, from my point of view, are not investment grade instruments. Okay, when I think of investment, I think of really long-term, like, you know, a few years, whatever. And when it comes to this space, I'm really only interested in like the leaders, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, that type of thing. These third-tier coins, these junk coins, they're like penny stocks. So some of them may go, but we don't know which ones. Remember, there are thousands, at least a couple of thousand of these coins that are available, and most of them will not go anywhere, right? That's just the way markets work. So the tiny amount of them that do are basically like lottery tickets, because you don't know which one and for what reason. We all like to fool ourselves and think, oh, I'm logical. I know how these things work, and this makes sense to me. Right, well, markets don't care what we think or what we think makes sense in the future. A lot of these coins, or the developers of these coins, recognized a long time ago that marketing is the key to success, to attract people to buy their stupid coin. So they do a lot of marketing. And who benefits from that? Well, the developers do, because they own a ton of the coins. And if they get a lot of people buying them, they can unload them on you and make their money. Right? I mean, how do you incentivize these developers if you're running a team of developers? I'm not a developer, but how do you incentivize a group of people to work really hard on this project? There has to be some big money involved, right? So you give them a lot of these worthless coins, and then you market them, so hopefully that the coin gets somewhere. I mean, that's what goes on with these things. Okay, we had a very similar situation in the .com era 20 years ago. Most of those stocks are not listed today. So just to kind of give you an idea, there are a few, there are a handful, and those were legitimate SEC regulated stocks. These are not regulated by anyone. They don't have to tell you exactly what they're doing with the project. They don't have to tell you where that money's going or nothing. It's not a company, right? So there's no financial statement. It's a coin of some kind, right? And all they can do is lure you with information about the project. Oh, here's the white paper. Here's what it's going to do. Here's how it's going to change the world. Here are the problems it's going to solve. Great. But that's it, right? It's not a company. So as far as investments, that's my investment rant. These things are not investment grade vehicles. They're lottery tickets. Okay, anyway, because the reason why, and I repeat that a lot, that's because a lot of people are 100% invested in these things, and you really shouldn't be. If you're looking to control risk and invest your money in more quality, higher quality investments, there are plenty of stocks that pay dividends and all that other stuff that are superior in their industries and all that. That's a quality investment, okay? I don't even have to mention any names. Okay, so, all right, so that's GRT. All right, cool. We got Wedge from Central Florida. Hey, Wedge, welcome. One of our regulars, Brian. Okay, cool. Hey, Brian, can you provide an update on the trade of the week? Is that what you said here? Trade of the week? Yeah. Okay. I believe that's AG. Right. And Brian mentioned that earlier. Let me answer that because I mentioned I would answer that question and I forgot. So I'm glad, Brian, you gave me a little reminder there. So trade of the week. We send these out every week. We send out a trade to everyone. And here's the thing. So AG, this was based on the gold idea. Okay. It's a silver stock. Now, the buy stop was at 16. This trade is active because just the other day, this thing was at 16.09. So this trade is active and it's going back. We have a bearish close today and this thing has a stop loss of 14. Now, here's the thing. This thing has not touched 14 since how long? Let's see, since the previous year, right? If you go back to 2020, like December of 2020, that's when it was at 14. So even though this price action doesn't look that good right now, this 15 area is a major support for this thing. That's one of the reasons why I was interested in AG. On top of that, it's a low float stock. So, and there was a high short interest in it. That's why you had this ridiculous spike way back. But it's a low float stock. There are not many shares available. So if this thing gets going and it pops up on all the day trader radars, you can see a decent move. But right now, it doesn't look good. So what do? Nothing. If you don't like this situation, you can get out now and take a smaller loss. I mean, this thing's at 15.33. The stop is still $1.30 lower. So that part is up to you. But I just, when I put these trades on, it's like, look, I determine the stop. That's the risk I'm willing to take. Either the market goes there and stops me out, or the market pays something, okay? And you just have to be patient with these things. Now, again, this was based on gold, and gold, which was actually a trade of the week a few weeks earlier, gold is trying to do its job. In fact, you could see that's the old trade that got stopped out, 18.99. Now, like I talked about with gold earlier, nice start, okay? And it took out this minor resistance here. It's a good start, but a sell signal is developing. Question is, does gold make the lower low or does gold make the higher low? So if gold can establish the higher low and start working its way higher, and we'll see something like that, I would think, in a weaker dollar environment, meaning inflationary, which again is very confusing right now. But if we get that type of situation, especially with rates going lower at the moment, that should be a positive for gold. So again, I don't trade on economic information, but my point is on a technical perspective over the next few days, if gold can establish the higher low, I think that AG position will be okay. I mean, let's look at some other similar ones. Wheaton Precious Metals. Look, this one looks a little more similar to gold, trying to close the gap, higher low in place, very similar to gold. These things aren't as dramatic. They don't move as dramatically as gold. Another one, Newmont Mining. I mean, look at this. They're all trying to pop a bit. They've pulled back somewhat like gold, but they're trying to make this change. Can it take out this resistance back here at 67 basically and then establish the higher low? Only the market can answer that question. If it can do that successfully, then we're looking at AG, taking out this little minor higher low here, and then it should be okay because it'll hold the support and should go higher. If that support breaks and it goes to 14, it stops out. So at the moment, I'm not going to make any judgments on this. Yes, it doesn't look good, but we're still at the support, and I'm anticipating that the support will hold. Otherwise, I'm willing to take that risk till 14. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you for asking about it. All right, so let me see what else I got. Let me jump over here to the other one. And by the way, I really appreciate everyone's questions. I apologize if I can't answer them all. Usually when I stream on TradingView, I get like lots and lots of questions, so it's hard for me to answer every single one of them, but I try. So Nicola, hey, I got Shronofir from Australia, one of my Aussies. Welcome from Australia. Okay, hello, mate. That's my Australian accent for today. So let's see, take NKLA. Now, these stocks, we saw Tesla earlier, right? The leader in the industry was pulling back a bit. These stocks recently had this little change of structure, we can call this, right? With this bullish price action. And now it's pulling back a bit. So here's the thing. This can turn into a buying opportunity. Now, it's not there yet because you're still, look, we closed red today. This thing closes in a few minutes. Looks like it's going to close red. But you're in a more attractive area. Look at this. You're off of this little high or low area, which is what, 15.5 basically. So the question is, can you get a reversal off of 15.5? If you can, that would actually qualify as a swing trade to go long. And at that point, part of your reward would be measured by this high, which was at 1832, and it would have to clear that. If it can't clear it, and instead it takes out this 15 area, then this thing is changing the structure again. Now, these electric vehicle stocks, they're kind of like a flavor of the week type of thing, and when they get out of play, man, they're not pleasant to watch. So watch out for that support break. If it breaks that support, I would hold off on these things. I wouldn't go nuts trying to build a position in these. These aren't that high quality. They're better than altcoins, but they're still they're lower quality stocks. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. A higher quality stock will tend to hold its structure, find support, and it's because investors are buying, right? This is a more speculative stock, so it's going to be more subject to the whims of day traders and what's in flavor at the moment. So just something to keep in mind. If that 15 level is cleared, you're looking at support at around 12.5 area. That's your next area to consider. If it can reverse there, that's a place to consider taking a risk. At that point, like again, I wouldn't qualify this as a bearish trend. It'd have to take out these lows, right? The low of what, $10? It'd have to take that out to really qualify as bearish. So you have a lot of room for consolidation in here. That's how I would treat that one right now. Definitely a little early to be getting involved, but worth keeping an eye on, okay? So thank you for asking about Nicola. All right, let me see what else I got here. Masa is asking for DOT, D-O-T. I haven't heard from this one in a while. Let's take a look. DOT. Let me see if I can get a better chart here. Like DOT against Tether. All right, it's the same. So here's the thing. This one looks a little bit more like that Bitcoin situation, completely out of play. This is your typical Bitcoin follower, not like those other ones. We were looking like ASX and that other one that someone pointed out earlier that were comp. They're actually doing something. This is not doing anything. So this is a potential lower high. I could see why you might have some interest in this because you're getting this little green candle trying to develop. But this consolidation is not attractive here. The reason is it's taking place below this previous support, which is now going to be a resistance at basically 19.5. So this area right now can qualify as a potential lower high, which is likely to lead to a lower low. If anything, it's acting relatively weak. If Bitcoin breaks that support, this thing is probably going to break faster. So that can change, but at this moment, that's what the chart is saying. In order for this thing to become more attractive, what you can do is wait for the structure to change. For one, it needs to take out this high right here of 17, needs to clear that decisively, meaning it needs to close above, like 18, whatever, and the candle needs to close strong. If you have a decisive break like that, and you start pushing into this potential resistance area, then from there, if you can get a higher low after such a move, then at least you're getting involved while the structure is in the process of changing. You still have these highs to compete with up in here. Again, this is going to be a function of Bitcoin. That's around 28. So in that scenario, in that bullish scenario, I would be expecting Bitcoin to be doing something similar, meaning it's breaking 36K, it's pushing 38K. Use Bitcoin as your gauge. Like I said before, they don't all follow Bitcoin, but most of them do. When you get these breakaways like ASX or whatever, it's usually a function of some kind of hype somewhere. And if you're not in from the lower prices and you get involved in a situation like that, all you're doing is taking it off the hands of the people that were in from the much lower prices, perhaps insiders that knew something way before anyone else. That's usually who's in from the best prices, especially in this space when there's no regulation and no control over how inside information is spread or whatever. Okay, so anyway, my conspiracy theories. All right, let's go over some other ones here. So GRT, I answered that one from Moldova. That's a new one. I don't get many people from Moldova very often, so welcome. Thank you for joining. All right, so I answered GRT. A lot of questions about that GRT. All right, so let me see what else I got here. Okay, so Shay Shank, Amazon News, Jeff Bezos. Is that why Amazon is up 3,000 points today? Come on, I don't know. I don't think that's the reason why Amazon is up so much. But anyway, that's interesting. Okay, Julio, NKE. Okay, Julio, let's take a look. What's NKE? So, Nike. Wow, what's the story with this? What a breakout, right? This looks like some kind of news situation, right? Look at this gap. So in a situation like that, can't chase. Not a good idea. Risk is very high. You say, well, how's the risk high? This looks great. Looks like it's going to continue. Right, but usually at these highs is the worst place to get involved, as I've mentioned many times. So what do you do here? Well, the gap often acts as an actionable area. In this situation, you have an old resistance right here, which is what price? 147 area, okay? So that 147 area followed by this area here, which is what? 139, so basically 140. So you have 140 and 147, you can even round that to 150. Those are your support levels. If Nike can pull back to one of those levels and then give you some sort of reversal structure, that's where your reward risk would make the most sense, if you can wait for that. Otherwise, here you're chasing. Now, if you're in Nike and you're in from a low price, this is a great place to unload some from those who think it's safe to buy, okay? Like those on Robinhood and stuff like that. That's what you do here. You distribute risk when things look like this. So if you're not in, like I said, wait for one of those support levels and go from there. That's the best thing to do. Keep in mind, when something goes vertical, and the NASDAQ looks very similar to this, when something goes vertical like that, stay out of its way because the risk of retrace is high. If you're a day trader and you're involved on intraday stuff, okay, that's a different story. You're looking to make a few points to get out. But the bigger magnitude risk, again, where's this thing at right now? This thing closed today at, what is that, 160? So if this thing pulls back to like 146, that's like 15 points. That's a lot of pain to take for buying it at the high. Why take all that pain when you can use that to your advantage, right? Okay, so thanks for asking about Nike. Very interesting chart, great one for the radar, and obviously a quality company. At least we all know Nike. All right, so let's take a look. What else I got here? AMD, Shay Shank asks. AMD, let's take a look. So AMD, semiconductor leader. Like I was talking about earlier, quality stocks, AMD is a leader. How do you argue with AMD? Now, vertical, right? We had a trade in this actually. Andrew had called the trade in this, worked out very well. It was a swing trade. Now, here's the thing. Buying AMD now is a bad idea. This is a great place to be getting out of it, taking profits, especially if it's a swing trade. Look at your resistance. Look where you are. Look at this region back here. So what are some of the prices back here? 94.5. What's this price here? 97, basically 98. What's this price over here? 95.71. What's this price over here? 93.90, basically 94. You are in that range of these highs. You better believe someone is going to be distributing up in this area. So bad place to be buying, great place to be distributing. Other than that, the only thing you can do here, if you missed AMD, and again, this is a reflection of the stock market. This is a reflection of the NASDAQ. It's a semiconductor leader. In the semiconductor, I mean, look at NVIDIA. I showed you NVIDIA before. The thing is on its like all-time high, on top of all-time high. The thing is vertical practically, right? Right at its peak. You have to wait for supports in this situation. Your first support on AMD on the swing trade time frame is 86.93. So this thing right now is at 94.97, high risk price. This thing can pull back, what, 8 points or whatever, and that's your first support. So I would wait for something like that if you want to get involved in AMD with a new trade, with a new swing trade idea. Okay, so thank you for asking. Again, a lot of semiconductors are going to be similar to that, and we're probably going to talk about that more tomorrow on the show, because you know Henry and all them, they like these stocks. So let me see what else. Okay, so GRT. Okay, I went over that. Okay, let me see what else I got here. I got SCR or OBLG. All right, let's take a look. SCR. What is SCR? Is that a coin or is that a stock? Let's see. I'm guessing it's a stock. So it looks like it's a gaming stock. Nice pullback. All right, so here's the situation. First, it's a relatively new stock. I don't see a lot of price history. It had a recent, this was a bearish trend because we didn't have anything else to judge by. At this point, right, that was a bearish trend. It then changed, took out these resistance levels, right, changed the structure. Okay, cool. Had a nice run, and now it's pulling back. This is an interesting stock. Now, what I like about it is you have a bullish structure that's in play, and you've pulled back to a significant support, which was a previous resistance area. So this is an attractive location. This is a great one for the swing trade radar. As far as price action goes, though, today's candle closed red, and there's no buy signal. I don't see an inside bar. I don't see a pin bar. I don't even see a green candle. There's just a big red candle sitting there. So it's a little early to step in front of it, but you do have an attractive location. So this is where you can anticipate the buying activity, but it's usually a good idea to wait until some sort of buying activity confirms. In this case, the first thing you want to see is a break of this high, 1945. And I hope, correct me if I don't have the right stock. I'll just check the chat real quick, but I believe it's the right stock. Okay, so you want to see the break of that high. It's really nice to see a bullish pin bar or something, okay, or maybe even an outside bar. In that situation, when that high breaks, you want to look at this low, 1826, and that's where you're going to define risk from. Now, you have plenty of potential here. I mean, this thing can run to what, mid-20s, maybe even higher 20s in the next leg higher. That can unfold over a few weeks. I wouldn't expect that in a few days. That's unrealistic, but a few weeks makes sense. So definitely a good one for the radar. Like I would, if we got all that buy stuff that I just mentioned, if that stuff came about, I would send that out as a swing trade. I mean, that's a nice looking situation. I like the broader structure. Okay, and also it's probably not a highly correlated stock, which I like that as well. A highly correlated stock is something like AMD, which, you know, S&P makes new highs, NASDAQ makes new highs, AMD should be making new highs type of thing. If S&P pulls back, AMD will most likely pull back. A stock like this seems like it's doing its own thing. I prefer stocks like that do their own thing with these type of situations. Biotechs are typical stocks that do their own thing. They don't really follow the S&P. They're more news driven, which is okay, because when we see certain chart formations and we can measure risk, they make those also good choices for swing trades, especially in this environment where the bigger picture is at very risky levels in general. Okay, so good question about that one. All right, so let me do this. Because I have lots of questions, I'm just going to answer one question, one symbol per question. So if you have more than one, just retype it into the chat, see if I can get to it, because you put OBLG. But I have a lot of questions, so I just want to be fair to everyone else. So Kuzo, what do you think of Coinbase stock? Would you say it's found a support level, or is it too soon? Okay, good question. Let's take a look at Coinbase, because I've been watching Coinbase, and here's the thing. So Coinbase really is a reflection of Bitcoin, if you think about it, right? Bitcoin pulled back to that 30K, and this thing has been consolidating very similar to Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin tried to break 36K a couple of days ago. Coinbase tried to get something going, and Bitcoin pulled back a bit, Coinbase pulling back a bit too. Now, here's the thing. So the question is, do you think Bitcoin found its support level, or is it too soon? You do have a support that's in place, okay? We can argue that 210, what is this level here? 217, 208. So you can argue, we can round that to even 200. We could say that there's a support there. Now, it tried to break above that little mini consolidation, and you have a little minor area around that 240 level. That's where it is right now, 235. So you may get that higher low. Again, though, this is dependent on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin can't get its act together, this thing will probably break that support, that 200 support. That's what you have to watch for. So I think it's early to get involved in Coinbase. Even, I mean, look, if you're thinking of maybe as an investment, okay, I can understand why you might think of Coinbase as an investment, although it's still a highly speculative stock. Not a bad place to put on a tiny bite, meaning, maybe you buy a couple of shares. But the thing is, if it breaks that support, you could see 150 relatively quickly, especially if Bitcoin tests 26K. So just something to keep in mind. Use Bitcoin as your guide. As far as swing trades go, it's still early. So I would be keeping an eye on this. We have some levels that we can watch, but we need price action to confirm as far as putting on a new swing trade, because I can't really define, well, I can define risk here, but momentum is not exactly, there are no signs that momentum wants to go my way, especially with Bitcoin the way it's looking. Okay, so thank you for asking about Coinbase. Let me see what else I got here. NAKD stock, if you have, okay, so let's take a look. I'm sitting on it, Steve says. NAKD, what is that? Okay, let's see. Naked. Oh, Naked brand, great. So he's sitting on some Naked. All right, so let's see what the story is with this. A couple of things. So you had this price action way back here, right? When was that? Back in February. Since then, and this is a nice example of why you should never chase into hype. Perfect example. How many altcoins look like this? So people, you better believe people are stuck in from these highs, hoping that this thing comes back. Anyway, Steve, I hope you're not in from those highs. So it's pulled back and it's consolidated. Okay, that's good, because this is a forgotten about stock. No one's paying attention to this thing. Now, you have this, let's look at more relevant levels. You have a level here, what is this level? You have a level here at, what is that, 46 cents. You have another test at around 49 cents. So you have this range, we're gonna call this the range low, the range support right in that area there. Then it tried to break out, tried to change its tune a little bit. Okay, fine, no problem. And now it's consolidating again, no problem. So at least the thing is not making lower lows, okay? So what you have working for you is it's holding the 50-cent area. That's an important area. It needs to stay above that. If it breaks below that, that's not what you want to see. Now, as far as putting on new trades, it's a very inexpensive stock, so I'm not a big fan for swing trades. If you want to play with the bigger picture, well, again, in this type of situation, it's highly speculative. I wouldn't go nuts trying to accumulate something like this, but this would be, at least if you're buying into this now, you said you're sitting on some. If you're buying some shares into this now, you're basically going to use that 50-cent area as your breaking point, meaning you buy some, right? You buy some, it holds, it breaks out, it breaks above the 70-cent area. Perhaps you buy a little more. And if it could start breaking these resistances, you put on a little more, but you don't want to go crazy. When you're dealing with, like, when it's sort of a mix between a swing trade and a position trade, which something like this would be, you want to make sure that you have some sort of specific amount allocated. Like you say, okay, look, I only want to put $1,000 into this or whatever. You have a specific number in mind and you stick to that number. Once you've accumulated that many shares, you're done, no matter what the thing does. Because if you get the problem, that the mistake people make is they buy too much of it and then it breaks and now you're stuck in it and now you're at the mercy of the market and then you hope it comes back and then you run into big problems, right? You need to avoid that. So one way to do that, again, especially if you're not going to use a stop because you're working with inventory, you could call it short-term inventory, then in those situations it's best to have that specific number in mind and just work with that. And if it breaks the support, instead of banging the whole thing out, maybe you just start distributing. Okay, so you have, let's just say you've accumulated 1,000 shares. It breaks the support. You throw 30 shares out, or maybe you throw 50 shares out, and you hold on to a little to see how much lower it goes. If it breaks another support, you get rid of the whole thing. But these things aren't, since it's not very eventful, you're probably not going to see very big dramatic breaks. So it's just something to keep in mind. Same thing goes if it goes your way. This thing starts pushing some ridiculous levels, like, what is this? into the $1 or $2 area, that's when you want to be distributing. So what I like about this situation is you're in a consolidation, and if you start getting those breakouts, you can see some dramatic movement because people start piling in, right? This pops up on all the day trader radars, and also you have some shorts, right? Shorts that have to buy it back and they get squeezed, and that's where you see these vertical moves. So just something to keep in mind there, but it's not a horrible situation, just not exactly the best choice for a swing trade. So thank you for asking about that one. Okay, let me see what else I got here. All right, so that was Naked. All right, William from Denmark. Okay, cool, another Denmark guy. All right, from Trinidad. Oh, welcome, Kester. I don't get many from Trinidad here. That's a new one as well. Trinidad and Tobago, nice. It's got to be nice over there, right? These nice vacation places. Okay, so let's see. CAD. So CAD Yen. I don't get very many questions about Forex, so that's cool. So Canadian against the yen. This is one of those wild cross pairs, right? Kind of like the pound. Anything against the yen. Pound yen, Canadian yen. So you have to be careful with these. I'm not a big fan. I like to work with the dollar, but doesn't mean you have to avoid these, right? Especially if you're focused on these. Here's what I could tell you about this. Clearly, the trend is higher lows and higher highs, right? So the Canadian has been obviously gaining against the yen. Now here's the thing, you have to look at, especially with these, you have to look at the levels. Your level right now of interest is 88.23. And it's actually demonstrated some buying there. Now keep in mind this is a cross pair. So what goes on is really a function between the Canadian against the dollar and the yen against the dollar, right? You cross out the dollar, and then you get the Canadian yen. But it's really a function of that. It can be very confusing. So, and if you just want to keep it simple, you just stay focused on this chart and you see if you could get another buying candle in this level. Otherwise, stay out of this thing's way because this is bearish momentum. Can't step in front of this, okay? So let me give you another example. Let's say you saw the higher low and you bought into that. Because if you go, okay, higher low, should go higher, okay? But it then failed to go higher. So it should have went higher, and then you get this little bearish inside bar and took out the low. That's your reason to exit the trade if you're in such a trade, because it shouldn't do that. It should produce another green candle, not produce a sell signal off of a little mini resistance area. So that's what I'd be watching for, that 88.23. See if you can get some long off of that, if you can get a reversal. Otherwise, stay out of this thing's way because it can push lower. All right, now especially, in light of the dollar, I pointed out the dollar earlier. All right, if you take a look at that dollar index, look at the dollar. Dollar's strong. So I would expect that in order for that pair, that cross pair, to improve, this dollar needs to start pulling back. And that dollar is not pulling back right now. It's a strong outside bar, which I would anticipate the next bar to go higher, which is not a bullish thing for Canadian, CAD yen. All right, so thank you for asking about that one. It's always nice to do a Forex pair every once in a while. Okay, cool. So let's see what else I got. How am I doing with time? I know it's, yeah, okay. I'll be wrapping this up here shortly. So let me see what else I got. What other questions I got here? Going back to the chat. So, okay, cool. Hey, Base, thanks. So GRT from the short perspective. So, okay, so that GRT from the short perspective. All right, so let me just go back to that real quick. Now, you are getting a sell signal here, right? So from the short perspective, you have the bearish pin bar, and the low of that bearish pin bar is 69 cents basically, right? Just a little above that. If it takes out that low, you have the sell signal. But here's the thing. You're asking about shorting, which is highly aggressive generally in this area. Now, keep in mind, this is likely a Bitcoin follower, right? And if Bitcoin chooses to break higher, which it's not at the moment, but if it does, you can get caught in this. So if you short this, just keep in mind, you need to stay on top of it. Make sure you define your risk very, very distinctively, and make sure that you respect the stop and exit if this thing goes the wrong way. Otherwise, you can have like a situation like we saw with a couple of those other ones where they just go vertical, like comp, right? And you don't want to get caught in something like that. That's the problem with these coins. and why we especially stay away from shorting them. But technically, the short idea is there. Okay, so I just wanted to put a couple of those disclaimers in there because it's a very aggressive thing to do. But like I said, if you're on top of it and that the risk makes sense to you, then hey, by all means, I don't want to discourage you from such a situation. Thank you for asking and making that clear. Okay, Alberta, welcome. Can you look at XRP? Sure, let's take a look. XRP, and again, I'm just getting to, I know some of these people put these like 30 minutes ago, they put that in the chat, so I'm just getting to it now. I appreciate your patience. So XRP, haven't heard from this one in a while. I remember I used to get this one, Shay Shank used to ask me about this one all the time. All right, now, here's the thing. We got the lower high in place, just like Bitcoin, lower high. We have a bearish candle that closed, right? And today's candle is basically messing with that low. So the low area is around 63 cents, 62 cents, somewhere around there. If that lower high sticks, which looks the case at the moment, you may get that push to the low. Now, I've never really been a big fan of this coin. It's always acted relatively weak, and there's always some stupid news comes out and then drives the thing crazy. So I don't know what to tell you on this one. I don't like it as a long, and like I said, I avoid shorting these things. If you're interested on the long side, the place to look would be this low here at 61 cents, right around that low, for a potential double bottom. I would be expecting Bitcoin to be producing something similar. Maybe you get the higher low, something like that, between here and that 61 cent low. That's a pretty significant support relative to this consolidation that we had, a few months earlier, okay? What you want to see as far as a general trend change, or I shouldn't say general trend, but structural change, is you want to see this lower high of 71 cents. That needs to be taken out. That needs to be cleared. Just like 41K on Bitcoin. That needs to be cleared for the structure to improve and for us to say, okay, we have bullish momentum in our favor now. Right now, we don't have that. Okay, so it doesn't mean you have to avoid longs. It just means you need to be more cautious, you need to be more selective, and you need to be more realistic as far as your profit targets and stuff like that. You get these people, a buy signal shows up on Bitcoin, and right away, 80K on Bitcoin, 80K by next week, I'm calling it. That's right, I called it first. Right, yeah, thanks, Captain Obvious. So just something to keep in mind, right? That's not realistic right now. Doesn't mean it won't ever be, just we're looking at short term, meaning next few weeks type of thing. All right, let me move on. Thank you for asking about XRP. Let me see what else I got here. Harmony One coin. What is the symbol on that? I'm going to have to type it in. Harmony. What the hell is Harmony One? Harmony. Is there a Harmony One coin? I see a lot of. Oh, it's called One. Okay. One. So One USDT. All right. So this thing, look, this thing is starting to change its tune a bit. All right. It's breaking out a bit. But again, these things, most of them do not trade on their own. We looked at a couple today that seem to be. Maybe they're trying to hype this one too. But you're going right into this resistance, right into this right here. You're going right into that. So how much is this thing? It's like just over 7 cents. It's a lower priced coin. If you're looking at this from a swing trade, you have to define your risk from either 06, 05, or what is this, 0470 basically, which again, if Bitcoin pulls back, this thing probably will too. You get these little random green candles. I'm going to call it a random green candle. Maybe it's getting hyped like those other coins, or maybe it's relative to those coins. I don't know, but I wouldn't be excited about this going into a resistance like that. If you're in from a lower price, hey, what you should be doing at this point is let it do its job. See if this thing can follow through, or see if this thing produces a sell signal of some kind, in which case that's where you should be distributing or taking something off the table if you're in from a lower price. Otherwise, I would wait for a better price with these. Remember, most of these are junk, and most of these, they just suck people in, and you know what's after that. So just something to keep an eye on there. Again, Bitcoin is the leader. Some of these things, they try to get away, and then Bitcoin reminds everyone, wait a minute, I'm the leader. And then they turn to garbage, right? I've seen that many times. Doesn't mean it'll happen all the time, but I just say that a lot because I want you to be realistic and I just want you to be prepared. Okay, that's all. So thanks for asking. All right, let me see what else I got here. Jump to the other chat. So, okay, IMD. All right, dollar strength. Look up milkshake theory. Brent Johnson's milkshake theory. That's interesting, Wedge. I'm not familiar with that. Okay, thanks for mentioning. Okay, cool. Go forth, no problem. Yeah, I hope that ASX things works out. Again, those situations are unusual, and the only way you can protect yourself against those is with a stop loss order. It's really the only thing. Otherwise, you have to control the size and really be on top of that. It's not easy. I can tell you. I've been in those situations, so I know. Okay, IHS, the scammer. Scammer. You got to be careful with the scammer. Let's see. IHS, it's a mining company. All right. Well, this is, I don't know if this is the right chart, IHS, but if this is, I mean, first it's sporadic. I'm not crazy about that sporadic stuff. Obviously, this is not a U.S. exchange. This is in euros. So, I mean, generally, you have the higher lows and the higher highs. If I have the correct chart here, IHS, in this type of situation, since you can't really make out the candles, you do have some common highs over here at 310, this area right here, this 310. And that can serve as your next support, which you're obviously at, what is this thing right now? At 365? So, or 36 and a half. So that would be an area to consider if it can reverse there. Again, if I have the right chart. Otherwise, yeah, higher low, it should go for the higher high. If it starts breaking these lows, like 318 or 0.318, or if it breaks this low over here, 280, or something like this over here, 220, it shouldn't do those things if it's going to stay strong. So that hopefully you can define your risk with that information. Again, when I see a chart that's sporadic like this, I'd rather trade a chart that looks better. Okay, Shervang, AG doesn't seem to go anywhere. Would be a good idea to take small loss and get out of the trade. Okay, so Shervang is asking about AG, which is trade of the week. Now, doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Well, that's true. It's not really doing anything. It's just sitting on that support. So if you don't want to take the risk to 14 and you'd rather take the small loss because you don't like the risk, then hey, by all means, nothing wrong with a small loss. In this situation, since 15 has been pretty solid support and since I'm anticipating stronger gold, that I'm willing to give it a chance. But again, that's going to be a personal choice. So you have to decide. The candle doesn't look good, and there's a sell signal in place. So we can agree on that. But the support has yet to be cleared. Will the support clear tomorrow, or will we get a bullish pin bar of some kind, or some kind of bullish reversal? So we have to see, right? A lot of times, it's usually better not to do anything and let the market decide for you. Meaning, hey, I have a stop at 14. It goes there. It taps me out. And the market made the choice. I don't have to make the choice. Because when we make our own choices, a lot of times we second guess. We're making choices where we usually, and this is human nature, we all go through this. Usually we're reacting to something. We're reacting to some kind of dramatic information, and it's usually a bad idea. Okay, so just wanted to mention that. I write a lot about that in my TradingView articles. All right, so let me see what else I got here. Okay, so GRT, went over that. What about ETH BTC? Looks like it's topping. So ETH BTC cross pair. I don't like these cross pairs because this is ETH against Bitcoin. Now, it looks like to be topping. I don't know. I don't see that. What I see here is we have a double top in place up here. We have a potential lower high developing, but the candle is strong, meaning obviously Ethereum is going higher faster than Bitcoin is. That's what that means, just like a Forex pair. So there's nothing to do here. You're in the middle of this range. One needs to be moving faster than the other in order for this thing to have a direction. So I'd prefer to see a test of the low. If you're going to get involved in a cross pair like this, at least give yourself an advantageous price, or try to. That would be around this 0552 area, okay? Or at least maybe somewhere, some sort of higher low, something in here. Going and getting involved when you see a candle like this, it's got to be a very high risk thing to do because it's in the middle. Anything can happen. It may go higher. It may reverse. I mean, it's 50-50. So it's usually not worthwhile to get involved, even whether it's a cross pair, no matter what it is. But I prefer the parent coins like Bitcoin against dollar or Ethereum against dollar, not the crosspair. All right, so anyway, thank you for asking. Okay, let me see. Loving the stream. What's happening to Baba? Okay, so let me see how many more questions I got. I'm going to answer a few more questions and I'm going to wrap it up. I really appreciate everyone's questions. Thank you everyone for asking and participating and for sticking it out with me here on a Tuesday afternoon. So let me see, Baba. Let's pull that up, Baba. And okay, now this Alibaba Group, this stock right here, first of all, you're nearing the lows of a really broad consolidation. So what I like about it is it's off everyone's radar. Obviously not very popular right now because look where it is, nearing these lows. That's great for a swing trade idea because you can measure good reward risk from such a level. That level would be around 206. This thing is at just over 210. So if this thing can test that lower 200 area, you have an attractive level. But that doesn't mean you step in front. So I would need to see some sort of reversal candle. I mean, look back here, right? A few weeks ago, you had these little green candle followed by like a little mini pin bar, inside bar. You want to see something like that develop again, not a big red candle. So I like the location, definitely a great one for the radar, just need some more supportive price action. Now, I wouldn't characterize this as a bearish trend because you're basically consolidating the broader bullish trend, kind of like the Bitcoin situation, right? So if it clears the 200 area, I would step aside and wait for stability to develop again because that's what it should not do. All right, so thank you for thank you for asking for Alibaba. Let me see, BIIB. Okay, cool. I appreciate that. Thank you, Bing. Okay, is that right? BIIB? Biogen? That's their symbol now? Okay. So, wow. See, look at this biotech situation, right? Vertical candle. This is not correlated to the S&P. So that's why we like these type of stocks. Obviously, that's news driven. But if there's some sort of technical signal earlier, which sometimes there is, not all the time, you at least give yourself the opportunity to be in those type of situations. Now, let's talk about Biogen now, where it is now. You have this pullback. Okay, that's a good start, but there's no structure anywhere to be seen. Well, going back, if you go all the way back to November, you had that spike, okay, and then going back even further. So there is a level here, okay? There is a level around, what is this, 344? You have that, and you have a bullish pin bar close. So, okay, this is workable because of that, all right? Because we have some price history here. You have this attempt at reversal, so you have a little bit of structure. That low is defined by basically the 330 level. That's where you would define your risk from at this point. That's the structural risk. So this is a swing trade. This could be a swing trade idea. If it takes out the 345 high tomorrow, this thing's at 344. It's most likely going to touch 345. So you have to give it a little more room, maybe 348, maybe 350. Okay, then you'll have your buy signal in play, but you're going to have to take about 20 points of risk. Or you could use the pin bar low at 340, but that's at least 10 points of risk. So a situation like this, you can't sit there and put like a stop $1 lower and think you're going to get away with that, right? So you're looking at 10 or 20 points of risk. If this thing could get itself going again, you should be able to make up that 10 or 20 points rather easily. I mean, 380 is your next resistance. Okay, so you're looking at a good 30, 40 points. So that the reward risk makes sense. This is a good one, BIIB. Thank you for bringing this one up. Another nice example of a potential swing trade idea. Okay, so, okay, cool. Let me see what else I got. All right, and I'll be wrapping this up here in just a moment. All right, so thank you. Hey, Zelta from Latvia. Thank you again. HS, hey, good to see you. Okay, cool. So thank you again, guys, for joining me there. Let me see what else I got. Oh, man, TradingView. I got tons of questions in TradingView. I'm not going to be able to answer them all, but I really appreciate it. Let me see what else I got. Peter, what do you think of ADA? Could I take on board a lot of good news about this coin? Oh, here we go. Here we go with the news. Cardano is a hype stock, a coin, right? So for that reason, I'm not a big fan. Let's look at it from a technical level. So you had this test of the 105 area, 125. Is that the low? What's the low there? I'm sorry, $1 area. Not too long ago, about what, 2 weeks ago maybe, week and a half ago, it tested the level, gave you a pin bar there. Since then, it's trying to work its way higher. This is a really bad place to be putting on more, okay? Especially as far as a swing trade goes, I wouldn't touch it. For one, you have a potential lower high developing. There's no trend, and you have a very mixed market, like Bitcoin having a hard time going anywhere and all that kind of stuff. So I would stay away from this one, especially because of all the news and all the other nonsense that goes on with this thing. So attractive levels, again, the $1, will it give you that opportunity again? I mean, look, just 10 days ago it was there. So you can watch for something like that. That would make more sense from a technical point of view. Or perhaps you get a higher low, okay? As far as news goes, do not trade these things on news. By the time you get to the news, the smart money has acted on it. And the smart money could be insiders. The smart money could be the developers who own this coin from like nothing and they're happy to dump it on you, that kind of stuff. So don't go by news. Usually they know when the news is coming out, so they're in way ahead of you. That goes for any market. So I'd watch for those levels and see if you can get a better reward risk. Otherwise, nothing to do here. If you're in from a lower price, not a bad place to take something off the table, right? Not a bad place. All right, so thanks for asking about ADA. Let me see what else I got here. Okay, Win USDT. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, cool. Oh, I got a guy from Germany. Welcome from Germany. Okay, Win USDT. Let's take a look. Okay, so here's another interesting Wink. It's called Wink. So nice example of a consolidation. If this was a stock, I would be much more excited about it, but it's an altcoin. So I'm not very excited about it because for one, why is it forgotten about? This is probably pure hype and worthless, right? Now, doesn't mean it won't get its act together going again. In these situations, when you see these consolidations, for one, it means it's forgotten about. So if you're not in it and you believe in this thing, whatever it is that they do, this is not a bad place to accumulate some coins, but on a technical level, this is what you need to watch out for. If it breaks this low, and this is obviously, this thing is less than a penny. It's like a fraction of a penny. If it breaks this low of 3 O's, it's 0.00284. If it takes that out, it's probably going lower. Now, there are many coins, a year ago, many coins like VeChain and a few other ones that were like in a similar situation. And people bought tons of them, okay? And then 9 months into it, they're all making ridiculous highs. People are making millions of dollars, and these things are going to go up forever. Now they're back in the garbage zone, a lot of them. So, hey, can this turn into that? It's possible. I mean, at one point, this thing was as high as 0.029, okay? Not even a penny. But it was on its way to becoming a penny, and it never went there. So, I mean, just going back to this is complete junk, this thing. Look at this thing. They must have a bazillion coins in circulation. They must have a bazillion of them if this thing can't even reach $1. Okay, never mind a penny. Can't even reach a penny. So what does that tell you, right? So forget swing trades. I would just look at it as, hey, you want to throw on $100 worth of something as a lottery ticket, that's what you got here. The structure is not going to be very helpful or very relevant because it's completely, there's nothing going on here. Okay, it's out of play, and it's not a coin that really has made any major progress as far as relative to the other coins. Just something to keep in mind. Thank you for asking about it, though. It's good to know about these things. Okay? Okay, cool. Aloha from Hawaii. All these nice places. I got Trinidad. I got Hawaii. What was the other? There was someone else from a Caribbean place, I think, earlier. Okay. Tesco. What is that? Is that a stock? T-E... What is that? T-E Tesco. Tesco. Maybe it's a coin? Because I don't know what that is. That's not. There's nothing there. Let's see. Tesco USD. No. Tesco. From the London Stock Exchange. Let me see here. Oh, is it an OTC stock? Is this it? Tesco? If this is like an OTC stock, forget it. These are like penny stocks over the counter. Don't even, I mean, again, look, these are like altcoins. They're pretty much gambling. They're like lottery tickets. The charts aren't going to mean, they're not going to be very meaningful. They're going to be just very noisy, very all over the place. Can't make much out of them. If you're going to use technical analysis, you really need to use it in markets that are mature or markets that are relevant or like they're really heavily in play. Over the counter are like, they're mostly garbage. Most of them, that's why they're over the counter. So just consider them like these, these sub-penny altcoins. Technical analysis is not going to provide much value. So thank you for asking. Okay, all right, so you know what? I got to wrap this up. I see I have a bunch more symbols here. I apologize if I didn't get to your symbol. Yeah, I have to wrap this up because I'm over my time here. So, you know what? I want to thank you all. It's a supermarket chain in the UK. Okay, no, it's okay. No, you know what? It's good to see some of these coins sometimes, or it's good to see like an OTC stock or whatever, because some people don't know the difference. They don't know, like, think a stock is a stock, right? They don't know that an OTC stock or whatever. They don't know, they think an investment is an investment, but it's not. So it's good to just go over these things real quick. So I want to thank you all for taking the time here to ask questions and to give me some nice feedback and all that other stuff. I hope you found it helpful. So I want to leave you with this, with Bitcoin. Again, there is a sell signal in place, but it doesn't mean we have to react to it, right? If the support level, like 30K, is still intact, which it is, it doesn't mean that the sell signal will follow through. What I want you to take away from this is when you see people reacting or overreacting, especially if they put a title on their trade idea, whatever, that's very reactive, don't let that seduce you. Don't let that lure you into that idea when the market really hasn't proven anything. Now that usually comes in time with confidence when you know what to expect, and then some guy is saying something crazy, you don't second guess because like you know what to expect and you're in control of your own risk and all that other stuff. But what I'm telling you is when things get out of hand and you don't know what to expect, the first thing we do in human nature, the first thing we do is we grasp for information. Oh, I need to know what's going on. I need to know the news. But the news is not very helpful, okay? First of all, and I have to say that because, after the fact, you just wanted to know, okay, whatever. But just because you found out maybe why this move has occurred, you can't act on that because the smart money has acted on that a long time ago, way before the news came out. So all you're doing at that point is taking it off their hands, right? That's why you have to be not reactive, but more of you have to have scenarios in advance that you're prepared for, anticipating. And that's the whole point of why I do these streams to begin with, right? So we put some scenarios together, we look at levels, and we say, okay, if it goes here, this is what we should see. If we don't see it, that means this, okay? And you put that puzzle piece together, and then you let the market answer the questions. And then as it answers the questions, you can make adjustments, but you're prepared for these adjustments. You're not reacting. So I just wanted to put that out there because I see a lot of talk and a lot of hype with this Bitcoin and these altcoins and this and that, which is not unusual. But, let the market do its job first. Let it prove something first, okay? And be prepared. If you're unsure, a lot of times the best thing to do is nothing until the market gives you some sort of clarity. All right, so I'm going to leave you with that. Again, I want to thank you. Tesco ticker, TSCO, by the way. That graph, oh, okay, so I looked at the wrong market. Okay, anyway. All right, well, thank you. Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate that. So again, everyone, I want to thank you all for, again, your support and your great questions and everything else. I'm on here every Monday. Okay, today's Tuesday, but yesterday was a holiday. I simulcast usually on Monday, so you can check me out next Monday. You can also check out my articles on TradingView if you want to see some more insight there. Also a great place to see what how I update Bitcoin, and you can ask your questions in these chats. Otherwise, wherever you are in the world, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, and thank you so much for watching.